Money runs your life. It decides where you live, what you eat, how you think about your future, and how free you actually are. Every single day, you wake up and trade your time, your energy, your focus, your life for it. You save it, you spend it, you chase it, but almost nobody ever stops to ask the most important question of all. What actually is it? Because the truth is, the system behind money isn't just misunderstood. It's intentionally complicated. It's designed in a way that most people will never question it. And yet, this system quietly shapes the entire world around you. It determines why prices keep rising, why debt keeps growing, and why it feels like no matter how hard you work, you're always trying to catch up. So before we go deeper, hit like, subscribe, and stay with me, because what you're about to understand could completely change how you see money, work, and the world itself. Because this is the biggest financial system ever created. And it all starts with a simple idea: creating money. Most people believe money comes from governments, that it's printed, distributed, and controlled in a straightforward way. But the reality is far more complex and far more surprising. In modern economies, money is not created the way most people imagine. It doesn't simply exist and get passed around. Instead, it is brought into existence through a process tied directly to debt. Think about that for a second. In many countries, including the United States, when governments want to spend more than they collect in taxes, they issue something called bonds. These are essentially promises, I owe us, that say, we'll borrow money now and pay it back later with interest. Banks and financial institutions buy these bonds. Then, central banks, like the Federal Reserve, purchase them as part of monetary policy operations. When they do this, they don't physically hand over stacks of cash. Instead, they create new digital money in the process. This is known as money creation through the banking system. It sounds simple, but the implications are massive, because once that money enters the system, it doesn't just sit there. It moves through banks, businesses, and individuals. And this is where another layer comes into play, something called fractional reserve banking. When you deposit money into a bank, it doesn't just stay there. Banks are allowed to lend out a large portion of those deposits. That means your money can be loaned out to someone else, who then spends it, and that money gets deposited again and loaned out again. This cycle repeats, and with each cycle, more money is effectively created in the form of loans. So what started as a single deposit can expand into a much larger amount of money circulating in the economy. This is how modern economies grow. Credit fuels expansion, loans allow businesses to invest, people to buy homes, and economies to move forward. But there's a trade-off, because every dollar created this way comes with debt attached to it. That means for every asset, there's a liability somewhere else in the system. And over time, that debt doesn't just stay stable, it grows. Governments borrow more, businesses borrow more, individuals borrow more. And as long as the system keeps expanding, it can continue to function. But it also means that the system depends on continuous growth to remain stable. Now, here's where things get interesting. If more money is being created over time, what happens to the value of that money? This is where inflation comes in. Inflation is often described as rising prices, but at its core, it's about the relationship between money and value. When the supply of money increases faster than the supply of goods and services, each unit of money can buy slightly less than before. Over time, this effect compounds. That's why things that used to cost a few dollars decades ago now cost significantly more. It's not just that products are changing, it's that the value of money itself is shifting. And this isn't always negative. Moderate inflation is considered a normal part of a growing economy. It encourages spending and investment rather than hoarding money. But when it accelerates too quickly, it can create serious problems. It can reduce purchasing power, distort markets, and make long-term planning more difficult for individuals and businesses alike. Now, to really understand how we got here, we need to step back in time. There was a period when money worked very differently. In earlier systems, currencies were often tied to physical commodities like gold and silver. This meant that the amount of money in circulation was linked to the amount of those resources available. It created a natural limit. It can reduce purchasing power, distort markets, and make long-term planning more difficult for individuals and businesses alike. Now, to really understand how we got here, we need to step back in time. There was a period when money worked very differently. In earlier systems, currencies were often tied to physical commodities like gold and silver. This meant that the amount of money in circulation was linked to the amount of those resources available. It created a natural limit, but over time, many countries moved away from that system. One of the most significant moments came in 1971, when the United States ended the convertibility of the dollar into gold, effectively transitioning to a fully fiat-based system. Fiat money has value not because it's backed by a physical commodity, but because governments declare it to be legal tender and people trust it. This shift allowed for much greater flexibility in managing economies. Governments and central banks could respond to crises, adjust interest rates, and influence economic activity more directly. But it also removed the hard limits that once constrained money creation. Since then, the global financial system has expanded dramatically. Credit markets have grown, financial instruments have become more complex, and economies have become more interconnected than ever before. This has brought incredible growth and innovation, but also new risks. Economic cycles have become more pronounced, booms and busts have occurred with increasing scale, and managing these systems has become more challenging. Now, here's something important to understand. The system itself is not inherently good or bad. It's a tool. It has enabled massive development, lifted millions out of poverty, and supported technological advancement on a global scale. But like any powerful system, it comes with trade-offs. And understanding those trade-offs is where real awareness begins. Because once you understand how money is created, how debt functions, and how inflation works, you start to see patterns. You start to understand why economies behave the way they do, why policies are implemented, why markets react the way they react. And more importantly, you start to make better decisions. You think differently about saving, investing, and spending. You begin to see beyond the surface. Because at the end of the day, money is not just numbers on a screen. It's a system of trust, a shared agreement that something has value. And that agreement is what keeps everything running. But here's the key. The system only works as long as people believe in it. As long as businesses accept it, governments enforce it, and individuals use it, the system continues. And for the most part, it does. But throughout history, there have been moments where that trust was tested. Periods of extreme inflation, financial crises, economic instability. And each time, those events reminded people of one simple truth: that money in its modern form is not a fixed constant. It's something that evolves. So where does that leave us today? We are living in a time where financial systems are more complex than ever. Digital payments, cryptocurrencies, global markets, all interacting in real time. The speed of money has increased, the scale has increased, and the importance of understanding it has never been greater. Because the reality is, most people spend their entire lives participating in this system without ever truly understanding it. They work for money, but don't fully understand how it works. They save money without realizing how its value changes over time. They make decisions based on incomplete information. And that's where the real shift happens. Because knowledge changes perspective, and perspective changes decisions. When you understand the system, you're no longer just reacting to it, you're navigating it. You start asking better questions, you start seeing opportunities others miss, and you stop relying on assumptions that were never fully explained in the first place. That doesn't mean the system suddenly becomes simple. It doesn't, but it becomes clearer. And clarity is powerful. Because in a world where most people are operating without full understanding, even a small amount of insight can make a huge difference. So the next time you check your bank account, receive a paycheck, or see prices rising, remember this: you're not just interacting with money, You're interacting with a system built on debt, trust, policy, and perception. A system that has shaped the modern world in ways most people never stop to think about. And now, you see it. So if you found this valuable and want to go deeper into how money, economies, and power really work, make sure to subscribe, because this is just the beginning. The more you understand the system, the more control you gain within it, and that changes everything.